Present.
Oh, present.
Present.
Present. This meeting is being recorded by audio tape. We'll waive the reading of the Pledge of Allegiance and move to adoption of the board agenda. Any additions other than the addendums that got out this afternoon or?
One thing I did want to note was there's talk now the state's going to put that bus purchase program. So I think what I'd like to do is ask the board to hold off. Look, we have it on here and tentatively approve it if it passes. That's $50,000 that I wouldn't get towards the bus.
So you just want to remove it for right now until we find out?
Okay. Well, I feel like it could be even summer before we find out because they're cutting everything. And I just heard it just yesterday. So, yeah, let's take it off.
Okay, so let's take the bus purchase off. That's item C under Treasurer's Reports and Recommendations. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Harkness. Second by Mrs. Corzine. Roll.
Mrs. Shoemaker?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Bonner?
Yes.
Mrs. Corzine? Mr. Mullins?
Yes.
Mr. Hartness?
Yes.
Public participation. Would anyone like to address the board this evening? Seeing no one, we'll move on to legislative update. There isn't anything going on right now from that standpoint, other than Mike DeWine wanting to cut our budgets.
Cut or slash?
Us and Medicaid. Let's leave the prisons as is. So that brings up Treasurer's Reports and Recommendations,
I'd like to ask the board to approve A through F.
minus item C. And that's the Mavecca tax, et cetera. Gotcha.
And I did ask if there was any way of any of those could be reduced, and we need those services or technology.
Those are pretty good price. Those are pretty good prices on those services. So yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hartness. Roll.
Corzine? Mr. Mullins?
Yes.
Mr. Hartness?
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mr. Bonner?
Yes.
Thank you, Deb. Superintendent recommendations.
I'd like to recommend A through F.
Any questions on those? You didn't find any issues with the handbooks?
Oh, we went through them. They already fixed them.
Okay.
He's got his train.
They're pretty well trained. but-
We've learned over the years, we don't do the word for word. Hartness takes care of that for us. So that's,
It's true. He does a good job.
okay. So I entertain a motion to approve. Moved by Mrs. Corzine,
Second.
second by Mr. Hartness. Roll.
Mr. Bonner?
Yes.
Mrs. Corzine? Mr. Mullins?
Yes.
Mr. Hartness?
I will vote yes, but I need to abstain under item A, line 70.
Yeah.
I'm abstaining on that line, and everything else is yes.
Fine. Yeah.
Say that again. Item A. line
Item A,
7.
line 70.
Oh, 70. Okay.
I'm abstaining from that name. Everything else is a yes.
I approve, yes.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you. So discussion, and that was quick, discussion and informational items. First off, we need to pick a date to review and approve the 5-year forecast. Debbie,
Wait until next week, possibly,
and then pick a date out.
Yeah.
Okay.
What date would work with you guys next week?
We're quarantined. We're all pretty open. So that's.
Payment.
See, I was slipped out a day. 25th, that's Monday.
It's Memorial Day. Yeah.
Oh,
That's Memorial Day.
all right, whatever. That's
So-
why my calendar's open.
It doesn't matter.
So other than that, I'm open. So whatever, if everyone else next week,
I'm fine
you're fine,
anytime.
everyone fine next week.
Go for
Pick a date.
Tuesday.
Morning, or do you want to do an evening?
Let's do it. Bill, what's your work schedule like now? What do you
I can do morning, but I can do,
preference?
but yeah, I can't guarantee mornings.
So let's do the evening. Yeah,
I
let's pick
cannot
an
guarantee,
evening.
I can't guarantee that.
Okay.
I cannot do Thursday evening.
Can't do Thursday evening.
So
Tuesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
I can't do Wednesday. Sorry.
Okay,
There we
so
go.
Tuesday.
So it's Tuesday. There we go.
Tuesday at
Makes it easy.
5. that good?
At 5, yeah, and it'll be here,
Okay.
so we can continue the physical distancing, so.
And this is next
Yeah,
Tuesday.
this
Next
coming
Tuesday.
Tuesday, right, the day after Memorial Day.
Okay.
Here, okay.
I thought that would give me a little more time to,
Well, I can't think of them. It's here.
5 o'clock, you said?
Yes. Okay, so basically what we want to do is the reason Debbie wanted to hold off on that because we wanted to review the reduction plan and see if there are any questions, anything we needed to change with it. So that's why we're not approving the 5-year tonight. We wanted to review the reduction plan first. So Debbie, let's move forward with that. Everyone got a copy of that via email, what those reductions were. What I can tell you is that we looked at 2 or 3 different scenarios. This one affected the least number of people. By far and away, the least number of people. The other ones we looked at affected probably 3 to 4 times the number of our employees. So by this one, removing some of the purchase services, some of the positions you see on there, we're not actually eliminating a person, we're eliminating a position and not filling the position.
Right.
There are some people that are going to be, riffed on this. Our intent is to try to work and see, because there's some of them we don't want to lose. So we're going to work and try to see how we can get them back in. So
Well,
Debbie, want to explain it?
Well, I'll tell you that, in terms of, how does it break out in terms of where the RIFs are, 68% are from purchase services, 11% from certified, 10% from administration, and 11% from classified. So I feel like, we really did do the bare minimum at the direct service level and took most of it out of purchase services.
I guess what I want to do is explain why we got to this point. In November, I showed that we're overspending 681,000. With these big cuts, truthfully, it's taken us now over. I was right on budget. I was fine. But with these additional cuts with the state that they put in place, putting us 1.2 million overspending this year. And like I told the administration, don't panic, don't get, but because we do have a little bit of a cash balance, we're very lucky. That's a good point on holding on to just a little bit of our money. But what I did in the forecast and what I'm going to do is I'm only going to put 4% in. And because I just can't imagine that we're going to get cut 10%. That's 1.3 million. And I've talked to several treasurers. So when I work up the forecast, it's only a 4% for next year. But that 1.2 million this year, if we don't do something, it carries over to next year. Then it becomes, well, it actually is close to 3 million. And then our cash balance is down to 6 million, a little over 6 million. Then the next year, it goes to 4.8. And then we're down to 2 million. And then well, actually, probably after next year, we're in fiscal watch or probably fiscal emergency, truthfully, because we'll be negative. This just isn't happening to us. It's happening to everybody. We're just fortunate enough, truthfully, to have just a little bit of a cash balance to carry us a little bit longer. There's been several treasurers who are negative now, and they're already in fiscal emergency. We're not at that point yet, but they're taking away just this year alone, 500,000 plus 60 more for casino tax. Next year could be up to 10%, which I didn't put that in. One thing I'm worried about too is we got this wellness money for 2 years, last year and this year. Well, I have salaries and staffing out there because, they said we could, use it however we wanted to. Well, there's a good chance we may not get that. That's 900,000. I didn't even take that into play. Then they're talking about this bus purchase. I mean, they're all over the place right now, I feel like. And when I present the 5-year, it could be worse in November. That's all I have to say is that I may not have projected enough of a cut. And I hope that's not the case. And there may have to be like a second round. Deb and I talked about this, and I hope not. And I wouldn't even want to look at that until spring,
Yeah.
for next year. I think if we don't do this and slow things down, we're gonna be out of money in 2 years with what the state's doing. And again, it's not our fault. I felt like we was right on budget. Everything was fine until we got this big cut. Then, like I said earlier, by next year, fiscal year 22, we're down to 2 million. That's not enough. I'm not satisfied with $2 million. That's not enough for that rainy day. And then we're by 23, which is just a couple years out, we're negative 3 million. So hopefully something will happen in between now and then with the state that they just realize there's just no way that we can do this. Now, one thing too, they did the federal stimulus, gave us some money. It's from the federal government, but it's 1.1 million. I can use it over 2 years.
But it is for pandemic.
Yeah.
But you know what
Yeah.
that's going to be used for.
It's for pandemic uses, so.
Anything to do with what we have to do in the next 2 years to keep the kids safe and the staff safe.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's not really anything new for us. It's just going to be additional expenses we're going to have to.
Correct.
I hate it that it's got to this point. We both do, but
Well, one thing to keep in mind, when we went through this reduction, we were doing this in anticipation of a budget cut next year,
right.
not what we just got hit with. We had no clue. I mean, everyone we talked to, we work with Stacy Overly and those folks, no one thought there would be a budget cut this year. We were anticipating a 4 to 5% budget cut next year. And that's what we did this reduction on. So we're still behind the 8 ball a little bit, like she mentioned. However, there is likely to be another stimulus. I think back to the last time, 2008, 2009, that there was a big, big economic downturn. Stimulus money was sent to the states that made up for a lot of the cuts to the schools. So we're all kind of hopeful that that something like that may come through and help negate some cuts for next year. But right now it's just, there are more cuts we could make. There's not any more cuts we want to make.
Yeah.
It's probably the best way to put
Yeah,
it.
that's
So,
correct.
We felt like the one thing that we did with the purchase services is really.
it was.
That's almost 70%.
It was.
That was huge. So we didn't have to, touch the staff on that piece of it.
Yep.
So.
And there are other things going on that's going to help our budget a little bit, have a chance to help our budget a little, and we're counting on that happening. So.
And we don't even know what school's going to look like in the fall. I mean,
No.
So a little background on that. I think a lot of folks may have seen a draft of guidelines that were released by the Ohio Department of Education. What it looks like is that right now, and a couple people I've talked to in Columbus, it looks like they're going to give guidelines. There's not going to be firm, this is what you do, this is what you do. They're going to be guidelines. A lot of it's going to have detail around class size. We've got a question about busing. Are they going to make us cut the number of kids riding up on the bus in half? In which case, we don't even need to bother busing. Hopefully we can get a legislative write-off to where we don't even have to bus anymore. I mean, that's not worth our time to go out and just pick up half a bus a kid, everywhere. So there's a lot of questions out there about how this is going to end up being.
Well, the CDC, they issued some guidance late Friday.
Saw that Friday.
Yeah, and the one thing that just keeps coming out is the 6 feet distancing that is not going anywhere. I think that's going to remain in the final document that comes out of ODE.
I think it will too.
And the masks. I just think
Masks.
those two things aren't going away.
I think when they chose Medicaid and education, I think what bothers me is career tech. They're
Yeah.
not going to see any type of.
That surprised me.
That just doesn't seem
That surprised
quite
me.
fair. There's a lot of us feel that way. They don't get, no reduction whatsoever. That's just too bad.
So
And I will say
I don't
that
like it.
There's
Aaron-
going to be things where I'd say kids will be eating in classrooms.
Mhm.
I think we'll be moving teachers around versus moving kids around. Mhm.
Early days talked about that, we talked about the loss of instructional time for teachers having to redo weekend work, log into them, they don't have to bring on materials with them. But we said if you could designate certain seats, like X and O, you sit here or you sit here. You know you're not allowed to sit here and then the next one sits here. So mark the seats so when the kids rotate one at a time, they're in a certain seat and they know if residency that somebody's got in the class before them. Hand out wipes in between. I mean, yes, you could wipe off your own desk. I mean, that's okay because they're going to be taking their hand.
Right now, we can't buy wipes though.
Unless you got a factory somewhere, Brenda.
Exactly, exactly. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what I do. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We need to talk to Joshy.
Well, and it's important to remember that Aaron is working on putting a
Josh
plan
can-
together with the administration, and then we'll open it up to review and comments from teachers. But, the guidelines just keep coming. And so to start speculating on that stuff isn't going to allow us to put a plan together that we're going to be able to be prepared for. So you've got some meetings next week with each building administrator just to at least start on the
Yep.
We have a plan to react to as best we can. Not exactly comes out. Changes, not daily now. It was daily, now it's weekly. They're going to run this up over the next month or so.
Probably, yeah.
So we're going to start on the primary building this week. We're going to call it building administration. They will be in charge of their buildings. Weekly, to rent up all the departments, whether it be terrible, very food service, very for janitorial, sanitization, sanitizing, protocols. Busing is going to be the most difficult. Right now, we're doing 12 to 15 on bus.
That's what I've heard 15, yes. Yep.
But the reality is, we're going to have some leniency in regard to food habits. One thing we can do is figure it out. We have it online option. We're going to have some parents who will say, I'm not sitting on kids. We're going to have some who will say, I'm definitely sitting on my school kids to go as much as I can. And we need to take it on. Listen to me. Then we spelled out kind of what she's asking, who, what we're talking, everything like that. So, yeah, it's a lot. Every time you sit down and try to learn better.
Well,
The target move.
And there's two very different groups. You have your elementary group, and we then have our middle school, high school. With part of this CARES money that we receive from the federal government, there could be the opportunity to buy more cameras for the classrooms to where it's a regular weekly curriculum. Maybe 2 days a week, you're sitting in the classroom doing your work, but 2 days a week, you're sitting at home online doing the work, but you're still, it's still attendance. It's the regular curriculum. So that, the worry is if this goes on for a whole semester or a whole school year, there's no way we fit the whole curriculum in. If your kids are just coming 2 days a week.
Well, and I think it's
Zero.
going to be important, and I responded to your email, that we are all cooperative and understand that this isn't forever and it's not a gotcha or anything like that. We have to figure out what's best for our kids because they're already now a half a year behind.
Oh,
They're going
absolutely.
to come
they
in
are,
a
yeah.
half a year behind. And if we, stay stuck in what we've always done, they're going to get further and further behind,
Well,
which
and
exasperates our problem.
Part of it, don't you guys have to work and make sure that they get caught up really quickly, what they missed, what we
Yeah, that's the
didn't get
belief that
done
that
over
can
the
happen.
spring?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the first week of next year, right?
Yeah,
It'll
exactly.
be fixed then. But, there are, and I appreciate the teachers and the aides, everybody's patience on us getting a plan together to at least roll out for review. It's a massive undertaking. It is not as simple as people think. The ESC of Central Ohio has provided some really good guiding questions for lots of different sections that we need to be working on that's much more broad than what the CDC has provided or ODE. And that's so that we can make sure the day we start, we are more than prepared for our kids and our parents
Yeah.
know that their kids are going to be safe and our staff know they're going to be safe. So we just need to be patient with getting this put together. But I think Aaron's on track for
Well, and
getting things pretty much wrapped up here in the next month or so. I'd
some
say.
things we'll need to do over this next month is when we want to get feedback from all of our employees, but we want to get feedback from our parents
Mhm.
too.
We've got
To
that
see
set
what,
up.
The principals have provided us with a pool of parents that will conduct some Zoom meetings starting next
very good.
feedback on what the online processes look like. Get some plus minus of what we can.
Okay.
We'll have some information from them. Obviously, we can't include every parent in that. The principals are targeted, number of parents, I think we target 10, 15 per building, just to get some feedback.
So
We've got some feedback already.
Yeah, we did a survey.
Phone calls, emails, conversations.
Aaron, we may also, some of the feedback we get from a subset of parents, we also may put some of that information online for an online survey for any parent who would like to pop up,
Mhm.
read some of this stuff. What are your thoughts on this? What are your preferences? That, as much feedback as we can get, the easier it's going to be to roll this out this fall.
Right.
And the more acceptance we're going to have.
Yes, exactly.
And we'll make sure you're invited to those parent Zoom meetings so you can at least hear what they're saying and.
And then the other thing is going to be internet access.
Yeah.
What we found out, we talked about at the meeting last time is, Spectrum's offer was very generous, but if that family owed money from a past due bill, they were not getting internet access. So we had kids not have internet access. We've talked about making our buses Wi-Fi hotspots, parking them around the city, or in areas that we think that don't have a lot of internet access.